Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome to Bernard Watch. So today we're gonna do some interesting things. One thing we're gonna touch on today is actually Panerai. Now, I've done some videos in the past on my YouTube channel about Panerai. I currently own a PAM that I absolutely love, actually a radio mirror, which is on the channel. And I also did a very bad video a few years ago about why I hated Panerai. But the reality is that I do have an enormous amount of love for this brand. And while I do think they were overhyped in the beginning and they did deserve to come down a little bit in the market, I feel actually the opposite is true today, and that they're actually pretty underappreciated. So I thought this was a great opportunity to kind of come along, a great collection of Panerais, and kind of show you guys a little bit of their lineup. You know, some of the interesting pieces they currently have, some old, some new, you know, some Luminors, some radio mirrors, some historic series, some 1950s, some 1940s, just to kind of run the whole gamut, because I understand that they can be a little bit of love or hate with their styling, but they have something very special about them. And if you love them, you're gonna really love them, because there's just a tactility and like kind of a passionate flair to these things. They just, I don't know, the way they feel, the way they look, you know, you definitely can tell they have an Italian heritage. They're definitely something a bit unique. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the cool watches that are actually in their lineup. All right guys, as you can see, we have a bit of an overwhelming lineup of Panerai in front of me to check out. It's actually so big that I am unable to zoom out far enough on this lens to show you every one of the watches in front of me. So we're gonna have to literally go one by one. But as I mentioned, you know, Panerai's had kind of a bit of a fall from grace. For a while, they were very hyped up. Everybody had to have one. They were kind of scarce. And again, over time, they might have gotten a little carried away with diluting the brand a little bit. Lots of special editions and just some interesting decisions, not to say the least. But overall, they're a wonderful brand. They have really good quality. They have just something special about them. I don't even know what you'd say. They're playful. They're fun. They're beautiful to behold. They feel very mechanical. They feel historic. I don't know how to explain it other than they do genuinely feel special in a way that is kind of hard to quantify on a camera. But anyway, as I mentioned, I feel like they've kind of lost some of the respect that they deserve. You know, I don't think that they should have been overhyped, but I feel nowadays people have kind of neglected them a little bit, and I really feel that they're worth taking another look at. So what I want to do here is let's just kind of take a look at some of the cool pieces they have in their historic lineup, their current lineup, and just kind of show you a little bit of what's out there from, you know, some of the more common pieces to some of the more, you know, bizarre pieces. So you really have a good sense of, you know, what all's going on out there. So let's go ahead and get this thing started. So let's go ahead and start with one of the most common pieces. And I don't mean common in a negative way, but right here is going to be your Panerai Luminor 104. And the 104 is a great piece for a couple of reasons. One, it has the Luminor case, which gets you this little bit of a crown lock. For those of you that aren't familiar, there's a little tong here. You pop open, and that allows you to manually wind the watch as well as pull it out to set it, and it also is hacking. This is an older series, the 104, so this uses a Valjoux 7750 movement. Believe it or not, is the same movement in the Breitling Navitimer that I wore today, although you probably would never believe that. But if you look at the second hand at 9 o'clock and the date window at 3 o'clock, you actually can see some familiarity. Panerai used to take the 7750 and actually remove the chronograph module from it, which, you know, it is kind of an interesting decision that they used to make. But what I wanted to say is, you know, here's a great classic piece. It has a 7750 in it, which is, you know, very historic movement, tons of parts, tons of serviceability, very reliable. You get a sub-seconds at 9, which is a cool feature. You get a date feature. And what's cool about Panerai is, if you've never seen one in person, is they have a Cyclops like Rolex, but they're flat. The Cyclops is actually buried underneath the crystal. And I have a radio mirror personally that I love this feature. It's something they've actually gotten rid of. And if you look at the case back, as this is an older one, it's going to be a solid case back, but as I'll show you, current Panerais, a lot of them actually have a see-through case back, which is pretty cool. And it also has a nice deployable buckle. But as we move on, as many of you probably know, Panerai has gone into doing their own movements. So if we look at an updated version of the 104, we jump up to the 312. And the 312 has, you know, very similar features to the 104, but you'll see the Cyclops is gone. And the biggest change is that we now have this beautifully finished Panerai automatic in-house movement. And so, you know, there was a big push a couple years ago for watchmakers to start doing in-house movements. I've been quite vocal of my support for that. I think for the prices these guys charge, that we deserve good quality in-house movements. And so this was the first step forward. When Panerai started doing in-house, like the earlier 104, you still have the tang, and you're still able to wind it and set it this way. This one actually has an adjustable hour hand independent of having to set the minute hand, which is a feature you also see on Omegas. It's really convenient if you want to quickly set the watch. And it's just a really cool piece, but even this guy has been replaced now. And if we take a look at the next one in the history, we can take a look at the 1351. Now, I know that these probably look very similar compared to, especially the 312 I just showed you, but you may not be able to see on camera so well, and hopefully I can do this here, is they've really shrunken the height of the case. The new cases, especially on this 1351, are significantly smaller. And I know it's hard to convey this obviously on camera, but they're much, much more lightweight. One of the giveaways that this is a newer one is this really cool blue sub-seconds, which you can see there. Very, very cool. Again, you have the standard dong here, which is again a feature of all Luminors. This is just kind of a cool little ratchet. Or cool, I call it a tong, you call it a ratchet. I love this thing. It's just something fun to play with, very mechanical. And I just think it's kind of a cool piece. And again, nicely beautiful decorated movement that has this cool see-through case back. So when it comes to, I say standard and I say that loosely because I feel like that's unjust. Kind of standard Panerais, the Luminor case with a sub-seconds and a date, I'd say are probably the most common models. And as you can see, they've made some tasteful enhancements over the years. But if we want to take a look as well, we can take a look at some other cool watches. So here's another Luminor, and you always know that's a Luminor based on not the fact that it says it on the dial, of course, but it also has, again, the crown protection here. But what's cool about this guy is this actually is a manual wind, and it's an 8-day manual wind. So that literally means, I hate to say the thing, set it and forget it, but you literally set it and you forget it. You can wind this thing up and it will continue to run for 8 days. So as you can see, it's an in-house movement. There's no rotor as it is a manual wind, but 8 days. You can literally set this on a Monday, wear it through Sunday, put it down for a day, and then pick it up again. I mean, that's crazy. Really cool piece. We also have the 1510. And the 1510 also is kind of a cool piece. Now, like the last one I showed you, on these three, you have a 3-number numeral at 3 o'clock, of course, but there's no date. So these are just sub-seconds movements. And this guy as well, being a Luminor, it's going to have a hand winding and crop protection. Now, if we look at this, this is basically a unitos movement is the best way to describe it. This is about as simple as a Panerai gets. This is basically a modern version of a pocket watch movement. And if you guys have seen the inside of some old pocket watches, you'll know that those movements are actually beautiful considering how cheap and utilitarian pocket watches used to be. This is obviously no poorly decorated movement though. This is a very nicely finished unitos type movement. And it's a very simple movement, very, again, easy to service. It's a great mechanical wind watch. And even winding it now, it feels very, very nice. But if you're looking for something a little bit more simple, without the date, you got these covered. And now we kind of get into some goofy things, and I mean goofy in a playful, cool way. So tropical dials are something that I appreciate, and what you're looking at here is what they call reference 662. And what's neat about these, besides that really interesting tropical dial, which is, hopefully the color comes off on person on this camera. Well, it looks pretty nice. Sorry, I can't talk straight. This guy comes in a 1940s case, so it has a similar cushion shape to some of the others. It's got the thicker lugs for the 1940s, and as you'll see here, there is no crown protector. So you just get a standard crown. Calling it standard is a little bit harsh because it feels wonderful when you actually unscrew it and wind it. I wish I had a better microphone because when you wind these things, they sound beautiful. I mean, they just, as a mechanical, I don't even explain it. It's poetic. It sounds cheesy, but it is. They're really cool to play with. But again, unique look, no crown protector. It comes on this Ponte style strap, which is what they call it. It's got like a nubuck or like a rawhide kind of feel to it. Really, really, really nice. Nice oiled strap. And again, another in-house movement, manual wind, has kind of that vintage pocket watch flair to it. Very, very cool piece. Now, if you want something even more minimalist, you can jump to a sterile dial. This is Panerai reference 721. This is as basic as it gets, and you literally get an hour hand and a minute hand. This is a radiometer, which you can tell by the wire type lugs, the lack of a crown protector, and this actual crown that's kind of an upside down pyramid. These are all bespoke to the radiometer line, or radiometer, depending on how you want to pronounce it. Again, screw down, nice, great feel when you mechanically wind it. And as I love so much about modern Panerais, again, they're proud of the movements they do. So they give you a nice see-through case spec where you can really take a look and appreciate the mechanical wound movement that's in here. And then last but not least, just kind of a little bit of a comparison. Here's a 1950s case, Panerai Luminor. Again, back to the crown protector right here. Pretty cool. I don't know, it never gets old playing with these things. And this is going to give you the 1950s case, so it's very similar to the 1940s. You got, again, those old school thick lugs, but you'll see this is when the crown protector came out, so you got this, which is very much a Panerai hallmark. So very, very cool pieces. So again, I hope this was helpful. I'm very passionate about Panerai. I love them a lot, and I really think that they're doing some good things again, and I think that they deserve to have a second look at. So, you know, this is just scratching the surface of available Panerais. I'd say of this lot, I love Panerai PAM 90s, which they don't have here, but I also love, love, love this 1351. I think the strap, this nubuck strap, works really, really well. I love how they're doing a blue sub-second sand. It's just something kind of playful. I like how light it is. I like how comfortable it is to wear, and I love the see-through case back. So there you go, guys. I really think Panerai deserves a good look at it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump back. So there you go, guys. I really hope you enjoyed that video. Please let me know what you guys think below in the comment section. If you liked it, please give me a thumbs up. If you like any of these particular pieces, they are, of course, available over here at Bernard Watch, and I appreciate them letting me borrow their fun stuff. But let me know what you guys think below. And without any further ado, hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll catch you guys soon on the next video.